Over the past few years, I try to take it upon myself to mod each of the classic GTA games and try to build up my own type of remastered mod list, since there's a ton of great individual projects out there made by the community that each individually change up the games in some way or another. Like a couple of years ago over on my Twitch channel, I went back and did a 100% run on San Andreas using a mod list built out by the YouTuber Just Gesha that I'll link down in the description, and it was such a fun experience to go through. But what I've noticed over the past few months is that there are a lot of other individuals in the GTA community cobbling together mod lists for these original titles that go above and beyond your typical mod list that you find for these classic games. But recently I discovered a mod list that essentially brings over many different features that you'd find from future GTA titles and even more on top of that into one of the greatest GTA games of all time with Vice City. And the mod list that I wanted to check out for this video is none other than Vice City Extended Features, or how I'll be calling it in this video, Vice City Extended, by the user bibidibabidibu. Fantastic name, my dude. Anyway, the goal of this mod list overall is to pretty much update almost every single aspect of Vice City, while also adding a ton of gameplay features found from later GTA titles, and even more on top of that, to cohesively bring together an entirely new Vice City experience to the fold. It's by far one of the biggest extension mod projects for Vice City, just for the sheer fact that even the mod curator themselves can't even begin to summarize the description of this mod on its own forum page, because there's so many additional features added to the game that honestly, even I'm surprised that Vice City doesn't buckle under the pressure of damn near around 300 script mods. Holy shit. But it somehow manages to play incredibly well with almost zero crashes throughout my entire experience with VCE. One of the first things you'll notice about this mod list right off the bat, besides the upscaled textures for pretty much everything, is that there are a ton of new features that you'd see from future GTA titles scattered across many different aspects of the game. The first thing is being the ability to control our camera while moving around, thanks to the classic axis mod that's included with this. And if you're someone who's used to grabbing the Faggio right at the start of the game like myself, you'll see that Tommy equips a motorcycle helmet once he hops on, very similar to how the HD titles had you equip helmets once getting on a bike. I think it's pretty interesting and definitely a nice inclusion. However, I wish there was a way to change the helmet that you're equipped with instead of the one that Tommy has and pretty much everyone else in town. Because I don't know, this helmet just looks silly in my opinion. But even just driving around town, you're gonna notice that there are a ton of new random markers around the map, which turns out to be extra bits of side content given by random NPCs in certain locations. These are essentially like the Strangers and Freak missions from future titles with full-on cutscenes that are even voice acted as well, which is nice, but the edits for some of these characters and even Tommy's voice lines can be hilarious at times.
Hey, my name is Janet. Have you got a second?
I always have time for beautiful ladies like you. What the hell is even that?
But hey, you gotta work with what you have, I guess. But the real pull to doing these stranger missions is that each one has a set of choices that you can make towards the end of them, with each one providing a different reward depending on which decision you end up making. Some rewards can be extra money or even extra health and armor points, which is always a plus in my book. Plus, as you progress through the story and meet Mercedes and do some missions for her father, she'll eventually hit you up on your phone asking if you want to hit up the town, which takes a ton of inspiration from both San Andreas and GTA 4's dating mechanics.
Tommy, it's me.
Hi, Mercedes. How you doing?
Tommy, I'm so bored. When are we going to have some fun?
What do you mean?
This is a very welcome addition to the game, but it does have its caveats that we'll get into. So far in this mod list, you can only have dates with Mercedes, and she'll periodically call you whenever you're not on a mission and ask you to take her out on a date. Sadly though, you can only take her to one location, which is at a club near her father's pier. But the fact that this is even available in the first place for this game is definitely impressive to see. However, I gotta admit though, it is kind of weird if you do end up taking her on dates, considering later in the story, it's implied that Tommy hands her off to both Love Fist and the movie studio to get railed by other dudes.
Insatiable, she went through half the cast and crew before I even took a light reading.
Which kind of makes Tommy a bit of a cuck in this version of the game. But hey, you do you, Tommy. But if you don't want to go that route though, you can always decline her dates after she calls at any time. And speaking of calls, Tommy can finally use that phone that he steals at an early point in the game. And once it's acquired, you'll be given a prompt on how to bring up the phone, and you can call a few different services. But objectively, the best use of this feature is the ability to call a taxi at any time, because this essentially gives you a pocket teleporter for a small fee. And not only can you call a taxi if you need one and it'll drive up to your location, but if you see one driving around town and it's not occupied by someone already, or you notice they have their light on, you can basically just run up and hop into their taxi and use it that way as well. This can pretty much get you anywhere around town for a small fee of $8 frickin'.
I'd buy that for $1.
Besides that though, if you really don't want to drive around town, other than the taxi, you can always take the buses that you can find stopped at many of the bus stops around town. Plus, you can also sit your ass down on one of the benches and wait for one to come by if there's not one there already. Or you can even plant yourself in one of the parks or many of the other benches scattered around town if you just want to catch a break. Plus, once you get the second island unlocked, there's also a ferry that you can take between each island, which is very similar to Liberty City Stories and that cut feature that was supposed to be in GTA 4. Tommy also seems to have gotten over his fear of water and can now promptly swim across any body of water that he comes across. Not only can he swim through the water, but he can also leap out of the water with ease and commandeer pretty much any vehicle he comes across out on the water. And another welcome addition, even with this feature, is also having the ability to teleport out of the water at any time by pressing the C key. And this is very similar to the teleport mechanic that you'd find in the original Saints Row, which is such a nice addition. And you know, having the ability to swim is nice. However, I did find a huge exploit with this swimming mechanic, where if you just hold down the jump button, Tommy will bunny hop his way across the water like he's speedrunning Half-Life 1. And you can get some fucking speed doing this, and it's just hilarious to watch. And you can also gain and lose weight in this mod, similar to how it worked in San Andreas, by being able to eat food around town to gain weight, and of course lose it by hitting up the gym at Ocean Beach. There's also a handy dandy GPS for navigation, as well as having a way to change our digs with a nice little outfit changing feature at many of the main safe houses from the original game. Plus, there's also smaller improvements to the game as well, like having most pickups in the world appear as they did in GTA 4, with all of the pickups sitting on the floor with a nice little glow around them. Plus, you're also going to have a bit more control with some of the aspects of your vehicles, like switching on headlights, as well as having the ability to fire your weapon from any direction in most vehicles, like in later GTA titles, which is always a nice addition. And speaking of vehicles, you may have already noticed already over the footage used in the course of the video that there are a shit ton of new vehicles in VCE that we get to drive around the city with. In fact, there's over 170 vehicles found driving around town, which is damn near pushing San Andreas numbers. And pretty much every single one of them has been cleverly crafted to fit in the universe in some way, all with custom names and models that fit with the 80s GTA theme fantastically. From new trucks, supercars, and even sedans, two-doors, each class of vehicle will have a ton of new ones to drive around and explore with. Plus, it feels like every single vehicle's handling has been adjusted in some form or another, meaning every vehicle you enter is going to have a distinct feel to them. While most, if not all, of the new rides fit the theme of the game pretty well, some of them can stand out in some cases compared to others, which can sometimes clash with the art style of Vice City in some way or another, mainly in how these vehicles are lit or how they're modeled. Some are just a bit too detailed compared to others, so the range and tone is a bit conflicting when it comes to the vehicle department, but they're all still fun to drive. Also, you'll notice a lot of these new rides may have a Los Santos license plate, which could indicate that these vehicles may have been imported over from the San Andreas modding community. But honestly, I don't really mind that. It's kind of nice seeing a mix of different state license plates, which kind of makes it feel like people are visiting from out of town. Plus, we also have the addition of some new air vehicles ported over from San Andreas that you can find around the city, and a lot of them being at the airport, which is always nice to see since the amount of air vehicles in VC was a bit limited in the base game. One of the things that wasn't so limited about Vice City was the amount of side content that was available. There were a ton of businesses that you could purchase that had extra side missions to play through, and even this mod list has a few different ways of including more out of those businesses, as well as some more side content included on top of that. For example, once you purchase the pole position club later in the game and acquire it after doing that incredibly awkward stripper minigame, a Broadway will spawn near the club that you can jump into, which activates the pimping side mission, similar to the one that you'd find in San Andreas. Plus, another addition from San Andreas is the trucking mission available from there. There's Vice City News side missions, There's also this really cool side mission, which is essentially a drug trafficking mission that the mod author states was inspired by the Scarface game. And while I've never played that one, the way it essentially works is that once you complete the boatyard side mission from the original game, there's going to be a brand new boat on the left side of the docks that you can enter, and once you start it up, a new objective appears to meet some dealers off of the coast of Vice City. Once you meet up with them, you'll have to pay a high price to be able to take the stuff that they're dealing back with you, but as it says, there's a high investment in this if we're able to make a good return after selling the product. So we go ahead and take the deal and immediately get a 4-star wanted level with boats chasing us all the way back to Vercetti Mansion. And from here, we can go ahead and distribute that product that we have using this nifty bobcat that the game gives us with a freaking minigun strapped to the front of it, giving some total Twisted Metal vibes. And from here, we can make it up to 4 different stops to drop off the product. But of course, there's going to be opposing gangs that are wanting to take that product off our hands. So this mission overall can be pretty tough, and it's a long one, and I'm not gonna lie, it's tough from the very beginning once you get that product. But it's very much a high stakes, high reward type of mission that can net you a ton of money over time. And to be honest, it reminded me of some of the missions from GTA Online, at least some of the good parts when it comes to the business missions that were in the game. Plus, if you want to take a load off and do a minigame, there's a golf minigame over at the Leaf Links Club that you can check out as well. And if you're needing some extra firepower, you can also buy a slew of imported weaponry from a van that's located on the second island. And most of these weapons won't even replace your currently equipped ones already, giving you some extra firepower that's sure to outshine those pea shooters that Lance gives us in the story. There's also some new properties that can be purchased, and some of them have side missions to complete as well, like the new Downtown Sunshine Autos location, for example. This one is much like the original location by the airport, but this time you're going to be collecting some of the newer vehicles found cruising around town. And you can eventually turn a profit once all vehicles are collected, just like the other location. Plus, there's a ton of new safe houses found around the city, but oddly enough, most are readily available right from the start. You don't really have to purchase any of these. However, it definitely adds a lot more opportunities to save around the map, since saving is a huge priority in these classic GTA games. Some of these locations will also include unique outfits that you can find for Tommy and have him don some new threads around town. Although bear in mind, none of these new outfits that you can find in these locations, besides the upscaled ones from the original game, will be included in any cutscenes that you go into. Instead, it'll switch back over to Tommy's original outfit, which is kind of a bummer, but oh well. They do show up in the Strangers and Freaks ones though. And another bummer about these extra outfits is they won't appear at your wardrobe at the main safe houses. So if you wanted a particular fit, you'd have to remember which location it came from. There are some new safe houses you can purchase as well that can be renovated afterwards, like the Mendez Mansion from Vice City Stories. It's all dilapidated when you first purchase it, but after it's been renovated, it's gonna have a nice new look and interior, as well as some new goodies found around the outside. Even the Vercetti estate, once it's acquired, will be renovated once you take it over, giving a bit more representation to Tommy and his buddies. And finally, the last feature I wanted to talk about actually just slipped its way into the mod list from the recent update from bibidibabidibu that adds in the business empire system from Vice City Stories into this version of Vice City. And it works nearly identical to its vanilla counterpart that we found back in BCS. From destroying the vehicle and the remaining guards that run outside, to even clearing out the remaining goons on the inside, and even purchasing that property afterwards, you can choose from a variety of different illicit businesses that provide extra forms of income, and all play out exactly as you would expect, with having similar missions from its VCS counterpart. And this was my favorite gameplay addition from Vice City Stories to begin with, so seeing it here in the original Vice City is probably my favorite addition to this mod list, and I'm so glad it made it into a recent update, especially for this video. But besides that, let's take a closer look at the town itself of Vice City a little bit more before we finish up talking about Vice City Extended, because there are a ton of new additions that make the world of Vice City feel like the liveliest version of this town that we're gonna see before GTA 6 comes around. Throughout the streets of Vice City, you'll see the neon lights and even locations from Vice City Stories appear all over the map, just to keep up with that consistency of both versions of this town. Plus, you're also going to see a ton of flora and fauna, including some new palm trees scattered around the town to give a bit more of a beachy vibe. And I definitely meant fauna because besides all of the other people you're going to come across, there's also a slight chance that you might see a stray dog running on the side of the road, or even an alley cat loading around some dumpsters in its area. There's also a ton of random events you can find around the city as well, including cops stopping and searching cars, people dancing in near shopping centers, guitarists annoying people with their tunes all around the city, and so much more, which can make Vice City feel way more alive than the base game ever felt. And all of this combined with all of the other features that we've covered in this mod list congregates to bring together an entirely new Vice City experience for fans of the later HD titles, and even for those who are just looking for something different with their next revisit of Vice City. VCE will keep you exploring its world for hours, just diving into the new content, and I honestly can't recommend it enough for those reasons alone. And with that being said, thank you for making it this far. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it as well, and let me know down below. Have you tried out these mod lists at all, or at least are interested in checking them out now that you've watched the video? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe if you're interested in these types of mod list videos, or just mod videos in general. I cover a lot of GTA modded content as well as some other things here and there, so stick around if that's something that you're into. But with that being said, I gotta head out and check out some other mods to cover over here on the channel. So I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, or if not, I hope you have a better one tomorrow. Blado out.